Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about how I quit my 9 to 5 that I had no passion for, made and released my own game after working on it for 2 years, and became a full-time indie game dev. So I've wanted to make games for as long as I can remember. Back in 2010 when I had to choose a career, this was an impossible dream. No industry presence in my country plus how risky it would be to spend money on going abroad for it made me drop this dream about a decade ago. I joined an architecture school to mix art with something practical and real world. I'd always wanted to draw, tell stories, and just be creative, but I didn't know how I was going to turn all those hobbies into a career. Well, a month into the school and I realized I hated architecture, and that it wasn't satisfying me creatively at all. During this time, I started falling in love with filmmaking, making short films and music videos. So now the plan was graduate as an architect and then get into films. Turns out, I didn't like working on actual film sets. To keep it short, for an introverted person like me that enjoys sitting by himself on a desk working on my own projects, working with 100 or so people outdoors on a film set for 12-hour shifts just didn't feel good. I didn't like the process at all. So I thought maybe I should get back to architecture, join a normal 9 to 5 firm, and get my head together while I planned my next career move. Years of planning for a life in films had just crashed around me. Now I needed to sit and plan my new direction in life. The architecture job was supposed to be temporary while I figured things out, but damn, I hadn't imagined it would be so soul-suckingly boring. I needed an exit plan fast, a smart one, not another failed attempt at a creative career. Sometime around July 2016, a month or so into this 9 to 5 job, I was done. I was just looking for a way to get out again. To get out of this life of sitting in an office, doing work I didn't understand or care about, trying to waste the maximum amount of my time possible by taking walks around the office, going downstairs for tea or coffee breaks, staring blankly at my screen. It was horrible. It was soul destroying. It may sound like a chilled out life, just relaxing indoors, waiting till the clock winds down to 6, but it's depressing. I couldn't just jump ship again though. I had to stick to the stability of this job until I had a solid plan all worked out. So around then I started thinking, what is it that I can do that combines creative work on a desk while also allowing me a certain degree of personal freedom? Something that doesn't have fixed timing, somewhere where I'm the boss, where I don't need to answer to anyone. I needed freedom. Well, the answer seemed to be start a business. And I began getting caught up in the entrepreneurial wave that started maybe around that time. I started visiting these websites daily, Entrepreneur, Forbes, etc. Reading articles every day, listening to podcasts. Gary Vaynerchuk becomes my hero. I'm reading books like The 4-Hour Work Week, even one literally titled How to Quit Your Job. Anything and everything that could give me that freedom. I started talking about this to a friend of mine who was in a similar state of mind, and he asked me, "Hey man, why don't you make a video game?" And I was like, "No, that's a terrible idea. It's a struggle. No one makes any money. Indie devs are dying. I want freedom. I want to earn money. Indie game dev is suicide. Haven't you heard of the indie apocalypse?" So anyways, I went back to listening to my entrepreneurship podcasts. Now when you listen to enough of these, you pick up on a few tips. One of them being, identify a need in the market and make something that fulfills it. Uber, for instance, made getting taxis easier. Dating apps, food delivery services, you get the point. So I started racking my brains trying to understand what was missing around where I lived that I could satisfy with a service. But that sounded like an extremely boring option to me. The way I see it, if running a business itself is a fun activity for you, if that's your passion, then maybe what you choose doesn't matter. You're happy doing the everyday business tasks for whatever you choose. But if you're in it for other reasons, freedom, meaningful work, creative satisfaction, art, etc., you better find something that means something to you, something you'll enjoy enough to stick with the rough parts, and also something you understand. For instance, I read something about a mattress delivery service and I tried thinking of business ideas of that sort, and I was like, wait, what do I care about mattresses? What do I know about mattresses? What about the logistics? Why would I do this? Would I be happy doing that for years to come, especially once the excitement of running my own business dies down? That's when I considered what my friend had suggested earlier, and suddenly it all made sense. I love video games. I read about them as soon as I wake up. I watch videos analyzing, reviewing, or just gushing about them with my breakfast. I listen to game soundtracks or game podcasts while traveling, working, or whatever. I know what's going on in the industry and which companies are doing well, which aren't, and why. I'm always thinking about video games. Not just that, but I get them. I've sunk so much time, effort, and my life into video games, never realizing that that was actually a useful resource. I'm guessing much of this is true for many of you watching this video as well. So it became clear, if I was going to work ungodly amount of hours on anything, this was it. Not just that, but there were a couple of reasons why it was practical and possible as well. There may be too many indie games now, but there's a reason why. It's much easier to make and release a game these days, alone, without need for external help like publishers and such. Success is not guaranteed, but releasing a game is completely possible. Hey, that itself was a wild thought. I'd be able to release my own game. This was a childhood dream I had put aside because there was no industry presence in my country when I'd considered it back in 2009. There was no way for me to be a game developer back in those days. Now, thanks to engines like Unity and platforms like Steam, those problems didn't exist. I could return to my dream. Would it pay enough to cover me leaving my job? Well, I did some research for similar small and undiscovered games. I calculated that I could at the very least match my current income that I had in my architecture job. If that sounds crazy, well, it's probably because I live in India. Starting incomes are lower, but here's the main thing, so is the cost of living. I wouldn't need my game to sell huge amounts of units to help me survive. I'd still need a decent amount, yes, and obscurity would kill me. But I realized that this risk wasn't the balance and was basically a risk worth taking. I wanted to follow my dreams, I wanted creative expression, I wanted freedom. This was it. So now that I decided to do this thing, how was I going to go about it? What was the plan? And how would I make sure that this wouldn't be a complete failure? So around October 2016, I started planning things out. I knew what I wanted to make. A simple, short, heavily story-focused game. Something like To the Moon. Light on gameplay but heavy on story and emotions. Creating a good story with good characters doesn't require technical development knowledge. And since I was just an architect with no knowledge of programming and game development, that's what I needed to focus on. And in any case, that's what I love. Also, as a former aspiring filmmaker, good story and cinematography would be a strength and it would help my game stand out. To help me with the lack of technical development knowledge, I decided to go with Adventure Creator, a plugin for Unity that helps you create games with visual scripting, almost completely removing the need to code. October to December 2016 was spent planning it all out. I immediately knew the story I wanted to tell through my game. It had to be a murder mystery set in a small, rainy, foggy town. That is what I love most in the media I consume. It had to be an emotional story about relationships, and there had to be a lot of drama. It needed to be cinematic and moving and cathartic. January 2017, I get Unity and Adventure Creator and start watching tutorials every day after my job. Around 7 to 12 in the evenings was game dev time, while also managing the usual household chores, cleaning, buying groceries, cooking along with my flatmate. Progress was slow, but it was steady. I quickly gained confidence with the engine and began prototyping the game. But managing the job along with this led me to burning out where I couldn't work on the game at all for a couple of days. I'll talk about this and motivation in a future video. Work on the prototype went on for about 6 months, till May 31st, 2017. By this time, I had enough to know that I had the ability to make this game and that it was good enough to sell the bare minimum that I needed it to. And that is when a part of the dream came true. I quit my job and went full-time indie. Most of my days were full of passion, momentum and flow, and I was bursting with creative feelings. Some days I'd just smile for no reason. June to December 2017. I worked on the first hour of the 4 to 5 hour game. This first hour was then released as a demo on itch.io and GameJolt. The response was unexpected. The game had so many fans and followers. Press picked up on it. The full release wouldn't fail. At this time, I'd moved in with my parents because I couldn't afford to live by myself, and so that I could focus on game dev better. I was hoping to release the full game 8 months later on August 2018. Obviously, that was a bit optimistic and I was forced to delay it. The core game and all the events were finished, but the game needed a lot of polish, improvements, and I still needed to implement the open world. I ran an Indiegogo campaign on July 2018, and while it didn't reach the goal, it brought in enough cash to help me improve the game, and it also helped market the game to a bigger audience. From September to November 2018, I wrapped up the open world, improved the UI, added some more mechanics like the diary feature, and sprinkled in some more NPCs to make the world feel alive. December and January 2019 was spent on bug fixes, optimization, polishing, and marketing the game. On Feb 1st, 2019, Raincept, my first video game ever, was released to the world. My decade-old abandoned dream had been finally fulfilled. I was also finally my own boss, working, living, sleeping, working, and creating as I wished. And my god, am I still grateful for that almost every day. The game did quite well too. I wish I'd been able to find a good publisher to help the game get noticed, but whoever did play the game absolutely loved it. There have been heartfelt emails, reviews, articles, and videos made about the game, and for many people it did what I set out to do. It moved them emotionally. I've never written a complete story before, and I was so scared that it would fall flat for people, or that there would be a lot of issues with it that I don't understand. But almost everyone has loved it. That right there was the fulfillment of a lot of my past creative dreams, and it gives me so much courage and enthusiasm going forward. And of course, as I planned, the game is bringing in enough money to support me as I start work on my next project. It's much more than what I was earning in my previous job, and with plans for upcoming console ports and a new game on the way, things should continue to be pretty stable going forward. But more than that, it has been extremely fulfilling. I even traveled to London last April for EGX Rest, met great devs including some famous devs, streamers and press personalities, got interviewed by Rock Paper Shotgun about the game, watched my favorite club play at their home ground, and well, even met Jeremy Davis, Baldur from God of War. This career switch is easily the best decision I've ever made. But it was also the easiest decision, really. I'm now working on my second game, titled Forgotten Fields, a nostalgic game about creativity, memories, and the passage of time. I'll be launching a Kickstarter soon, so do wishlist it on Steam or follow me on Twitter to stay updated. So that basically is the story of how I quit a job and life that I found extremely unfulfilling, and successfully moved to actually fulfilling my dreams. I plan to upload more videos where I go into some details of how I overcame issues, how I stayed motivated, and maybe even game dev tips. So do subscribe to stay informed, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, especially if you're starting out in a journey of your own. Until next time, this is Arman. Thank you for watching.